Yeah, good. A quick one this morning. Good morning, everyone. This is me, your brother, your friend, your money stealing on the show. I want to make a quick reply to some comments that I saw on my wall, and also to educate us on some things that we don't know. In life, what you don't know is a mystery. What you don't know is a mystery. So many people do not really understand the the origination of the Benin monarchy and the Benin kingdom. And so, because of that, many people decide to speak ill of the Benin, traditional institutions, which some of us see as a very sacred and prestigious institution that has actually lasted longer than any other monarchical government in the world as of today. The, the Benin, traditional institution is also one of the most ancient, most dynamic, most reliable, system of government traditionally that have lived over 100 years, over 1,000 years, over a millennium and above. Now, let me try to rephrase some of the things I said when this guy Ima Joka, whatever his name was, threw his guttered mouth to the palace of the Oba of Benin, and I have to respond immediately. And some nonchalancy on the social media space came to my wall and began to put very irresponsible comments, and most of them were from the Asian kingdom. Anyways, I'm going to address that. I'm not going to put all the Asian people under the same category right now, because some of them actually understood, the position of the Oba of Benin as far as the Edo is concerned. And having said that, let me try to rephrase or try to re-educate the people to understand what the monarchy system of government in the Benin Kingdom is all about. Like in series of video I did last year and early this year, I tried as much as possible. I also I think I brought a guest to the show, one Amowe Maswen Izodua, to also re-educate the Benins and the Edo people of how we actually began the monarchy system of government that has lingered for over a millennium. Now, having said that, I have said in series of my videos also that the progenitor of the Benin race today is called Pa Idu. Idu is IDU. Now, Pa Idu was the one who actually began this progenitor before the Ogiso dynasty came into existence after some 200 years, of the Odion system of government. Okay, I remember I also said that from the first Ogiso to Ogiso Wodo, which was the end of the Ogiso dynasty, was also a dynasty whereby the child, the son of the Oba is always of the Ogiso is always taken over from the throne of the fathers. I remember I also said that after the Ogiso dynasty, there was a break in the dynasty of the Oba where the Ogiame came into as an administrator, not a king. Okay, he was they were administrators. When there was this vacancy, in the Ogisoship of the Great Benin Kingdom, because of what happened between the Saro, the then of Ogiso Wodo, and the palace chiefs that were sent, to divination to check what was the reason why the king then, Ogisowodo, was unable to bear another child. We all know this. We all know that story. It has been played over and over in most of the Nigerian, the Benin movies. It has been said over and over by our fathers, our mothers to us, while they were doing the moonlight tales unto us. So I'm not going to dwell on that today. Now, during that break between Ogisowodo, the Ogiame, which became administrators of the Benin kingdom, and we all know how the Ogiames also came in because of the exploit of one of their sons, who killed this very dreaded monster that was always coming to the community, to the market, to steal away the people. So when he had the power, the ability, the stamina to do such a wonderful job, they felt he was bold enough to be the leader of the Benin race. Okay, now between that intermediary of the Ogisos and the Obaship was the Ogiame. Now, when it became very clear that the Ogiames were now trying to make that position permanent, hereditary, then the Uzamanians, the Oleas, and the others decided to go in search of the king or the prince that was banished. After the men who were asked to go and execute, the king, the prince then called Prince Kaladera, decided to reveal, their secret after they've gone through another divination to ask why was King Ogiso, why is it that there is problem in the land of Benin? And they were not told that the true king, the prince, was not actually killed by the boys. And they came back, they spoke to the boys, they made a confession that actually, yeah, they didn't kill him. They told them all that happened, and they decided to go in search of the crown prince, who later became Izodua, or what the Yoruba knows as Oduduwa. I'm not trying to come and argue history here today, but I'm just trying to let you know how important the Obaship in Benin is to the Benin people. Okay? Sorry guys. And during that very particular, era, we all know how Oromia came to Benin, how the Ogiame family in particular refused Oromia to settle, and also because of language barrier, because Oromia was speaking Yoruba, because the mother of Prince Oromia was a Yoruba woman, but the father was a Benin, according to history. Now, I will know because Oromia could not actually stay in Benin, why he was going, through Ego, he got the daughter of the Enogi of Ego pregnant. Okay, that was then that pregnancy. When he got him pregnant, he left, and that pregnancy actually, gave birth to the first Obaship in Benin, which is the Oba dynasty called Oba Eweka. Okay, guys. Now, from the Oba Ewekaship to 1897, when there was an invasion of Benin Kingdom by the British because of their greedy, selfish, ambition. Do not forget, in the 14th, 15th century, the Portuguese came to Benin Kingdom. Is still in the Guinness Book of Records. Is still in Encyclopedia that as at that time, the Benin city was one of the most organized cities in the world. It was even the Portuguese that gave Benin a city. Okay, they said at that time the Benin city was more organized than France. It was more organized than even the British city. It was even more organized than most of the European countries at that time. The streets were lit up with street lights. The roads were very, very well designed. They were also moat all over the city for protection, for security, and all that. They also have 7 entrances into the kingdom that was being manned by the warriors of the Benin kingdom. Okay, guys. Now, when the invasion came, they took our properties, our ivories, our bronze, that was being done by our brothers, in Igun community today. They took our bronzes, they took, our ivories, and many other very, very, significant items that is Benin or that is Edo symbols. They took them away, to pay for the war that they actually initiated and executed. The reason why they did what they did is for them to steal from the palace of the Benin and also to break the yeast of the Benin kingdom on the savannah rainforest, which was today the southern Nigeria as at that time. Okay? There was a very strong hold on the southern Nigeria by the Benin Empire then. Well, it was a kingdom. It was an empire that stretched to Benin Republic, dichotomy, and down to Ghana. Okay? Down to Ghana, stretched down to other parts of the southern part of Nigeria. Today, they were so very much afraid of the power and the respect that the Oba of Benin mustered during that time. Okay? Now the moment they succeeded in overthrowing the Nana of Ishekiri, they decided to do the same to the Oba in order to break that very strong bond of the Benin on the other part of the rainforest savannah, which was one of their greatest interests because of the mineral resources, particularly the palm oil that was actually being produced or cultivated in this part of the world or in this part of Nigeria. Okay, after the invasion, they stole this whole thing. They burnt down the entire Benin city. You get that now? They burnt down the entire Benin city, not because of who was killed, because their intention was the Benin warriors killed the British people or the British soldiers who came uninvited, who came even when they were told you can't come into the city because of the season of purification which the Oba of Benin normally go into after the new year. They never listened. They decided to invade the city despite the warnings of the Benin people. And don't forget, prior to this, the Nana of Ishekiri had already been overthrown, sent on an exile by the British people. So the Benin warriors felt it was another plot which their suspiciousness became a reality. They thought it was another plot by these invaders to invade our land and capture the Oba of Benin into submission and take over the running of the Benin kingdom, which was already happening in Ishekiri and other parts of the rainforest savannah. Okay, that fear was what prompted the Benin not to have given these people that opportunity to come into the kingdom. Now, I am coming somewhere, guys. You have to listen why the Oba is so very much precious to us, whether you are a Christian, a pagan, a Muslim, or whatever. The moment the name, the Oba of Benin is mentioned, we are very careful of what we do because of the sacrifice they made. Now, during this time, let me tell you something, guys. the Oba of Benin, Oba Ovora Baisi, had the privilege, had the opportunity to flee the kingdom into hiding without him not being caught. But the Oba said it is out of his, responsibility for him to run away when his people are being massacred, his city is being burnt down. He was asked to go into hiding, like I just told you now, because prior to this, the Nana of Ishekiri and other had been overthrown by the British people. The Oba remained, he refused to go. Even when he was in his hiding, he was being briefed every day of what was happening in his palace for that 6 or 7 days of that war. Go read the history of every war that was fought in West Africa or Africa by the white men. It was only in Benin that serious arms and ammunitions were used. Grenades were used on the Benin kingdom. It took these people 7 days to be able to put the Benin warriors under subjection. Do not forget, the Benin warriors were only using just cutlass, bow, and arrow against people that were using guns and every other sophisticated weapons as at that time. The Oba of Benin, the Oba of Baisi, decided to remain within his kingdom to see. He said he will be the last man to run away from his kingdom. Because he said even his ancestors, his grandfathers, will not forgive him if he meets them in heaven. That he ran away and left his people to be massacred by foreigners. Okay? Now, while he was there, a lot of things happened, and he was later asked to come out. He wasn't captured. There are stories we need to make very clearly. He came out on his own when he saw that the massacring was not ending. He came out and made himself available so that the killing of his people will stop. This was a supreme sacrifice that was paid by Ovorame Nobasi to keep Benin, dignity in check. That is why in the entire African race today, except Egypt, the only history that has not gone into extinction as far as the world is concerned is the Benin Kingdom. And most of the Benin Kingdom references are based on the sacrifice and the war proneness of the Benin people under the reign of Oba Ovorame Nobasi. Okay, guys, this is very important. You must get this right now. Now, if you go to any part of the world, when the history of the Benin is being, taught, like in London, like in US, like in Oxford, in Harvard, the history of the Benin Kingdom is being taught as a subject or as a course. And most of their references is on what happened between the British people and the Benin Kingdom in February 7th, 1897. Okay, guys? Now, when they finally captured the Oba, they had a kangaroo court, and they sentenced the Oba because you can't kill an Oba. Hear this right now. It is impossible for them to have been able to do that. Then they sent him on an exile. Another thing about the monarch, why we respect the monarch, because nobody can be able to fall into the shoe of the kingship of Benin when you are not of the blue blood. Don't forget, I told you, in the end of the Ogiso dynasty, there was a break which brought into power the Ogiamians. While the Ogiamen was trying to not take over the throne after so very bad 70 years of them ruling Benin Kingdom administratively, unquote. The Uzamanians, the Oleas, the Ezomas and all that decided to go in search of the missing prince to return back to his ancient throne that brought in Oromia. Now there was about to be a replay of the same, issue again for the second time, after the invasion. Now I'm going to say something very clearly here. You all know I am a supporter of Obaseki from the beginning, and I say supporting till tomorrow. But this very particular story I'm going to say now is not because I want to make something good out of nothing, but this is the reality. Okay, now let me give you a little brief story of the Ago Obaseki, the Osariemen Obasi, to buttress some point before I continue with my narrative, guys. Okay? Now, the Ago Obaseki was a guy who they said or they claimed committed a sacrilege. He was actually from Ika. Okay, in Abo area, which was also under the control of the Benin Empire as at that time. Why King Adolo was on throne. Now, Obavaramen was a prince. While Ago was running for his dear life, he came in contact with Obavaramen, and which was a prince then, guys. Okay, they became very close friends because of Ago's business acumen. Ago was a very, very industrious, business-oriented guy. And the prince then, who was already the crown prince then, who became Obavaramen, saw this young man. He said, no, you guys are not going to kill him. Because then, anybody that comes to Benin, even when you are being, changed, you are a fugitive, you run into the Benin kingdom as at that time, you are protected. Because the Oba of Benin then was like a human god to all the people within the rainforest savannas at that time. He was a feared king. He was like the king of kings on earth as at that time. So you see why most people call him God, the God of the people, because then he actually operated in that level. Like I said in my caption, do not forget, in the book of Psalm, the Bible says, ye are gods to your generation. Now, you can't be a god until you possess such authority and power over people. That's the definition of a god. The God has supreme power over others. Okay, guys? Now, when both of them met, they clicked immediately. They became best of friends. Now, Oba Osariemen Obasi decided, having seen, Ago's pride, having seen Ago's business acumen, having seen Ago's way of doing business, he decided to hand over the royal businesses, the Benin, royal conglomerate, to his dear friend Ago, and crowned him the title Oba Oseki. That name Obaseki is a title. It is not actually the name of Ago. Guys, get this clearly now. That Obaseki is Oba Oseki. So that when he was giving him that responsibility to now become the high of the Benin people with other traders that were coming in all over the world, that title came in, Oba or Seki. Okay, now having given you that preamble, how Aro and King what's it called? King Abovora not by. Okay, now now the moment that was done, Aro Obaseki now, una BS the title as his name Obaseki, was doing business with all the people, the Belgians, the French, the Portuguese, the British people, the Germans, the people from the east, the people from the Niger Delta, the people from the north, the people from the west. He became the intermediary between the Benin people as far as the business was concerned and every other person. So nobody therefore now comes to the Oba of Benin then of Avorame when it comes to business. So whatsoever that Chief Ago Obaseki says becomes final as far as the business world was concerned. So Ago Obaseki actually made the palace to become so wealthy, and indirectly Ago also became a very wealthy and influential figure in Benin Kingdom and abroad. Now, let's return back again. Now, I have just made a point here, then I'm going to use this point now to buttress my next line of thoughts. Okay, guys? Now, the moment the British people who invaded us finally captured the king then, and also all those of them, the Asoro and all those other warlords that actually took part in that very drastic war against the British people, they decided to execute these people, and because an Oba can be killed, they decided to send the Oba on an exile. People said they actually deposed the Oba. Oba can't be deposed. You can't dethrone an Oba of Benin. I'm going to tell you why again. I love putting things clearly. Now, what is dethronement? Dethronement is taking the throne, the ancient throne of a king from a king, and installing a new king. Okay? So, when you dethrone a king, the king ceases to exist as a king, and someone else takes over the throne while the man is still alive. That is dethronement. But in the case of Obavora Basi, he wasn't dethroned. Rather, he was sent on an exile because the British were afraid that if the Oba remains within that geographical location called the Benin Kingdom, they will not be able to succeed in their plan, in their quest to make Benin an extension of the British Empire. And also, they want to end anything that has to do with the Benin Kingdom monarchical history. What they wanted to wipe out, because they saw, they've already been seeing a lot of books, a lot of journals have been written about the kingdom of Benin, that they became worried to their bones that there is a kingdom in this backward society that is actually competing with the British kingdom. That was all. They sent them on an exile, and when they were not looking for who is going to take over the throne, nobody came out because it was not possible. The Benin people do not serve another king if it's not from the lineage of the Idu. So when they saw that the people of Benin weren't ready to actually give them what they wanted, all they could do was to make the man they have been communicating with, because as at this time, Chief Agwo Obaseki cannot understand little of their English. So there is a little level of communication now between Agwo Obaseki and the foreigners, which were the British people. So they decided to make Agwo the administrator of the Benin Kingdom. So that is where we have another administrator again. Listen, guys, during this time of administration, the king, the Oba Ovaramen Obasi, was in Calabar, wasn't dead, therefore there was no way a new king can be crowned. The son of the Oba was still regarded as the crown prince and the heir apparent to the throne of the ancient kingdom of Benin. The son of the king then, the crown prince, was being still respected by the Benin people. Even when there was an administrator in the person of Agwo Obaseki. Even Agwo Obaseki himself still gives regard and respect to the crown prince. Okay, guys? Now, Agwo Obaseki spent 17 years as the administrator of Benin before the death of the Oba of Benin in Calabar, Oba Ovaramen Obasi. And immediately the Oba dies or transited, like we say, because Oba don't die as far as the Benin people are concerned. He only transits to the world beyond. Then the moment the Oba transited to the world beyond, the son automatically was crowned the next king of the kingdom. So you will understand how very, very important the throne of the Benin kingdom is to a typical Benin man. So that is why when people comes up and begin to lay insult on the throne, let me also say this, guys. Sometimes we react to you when you insult the Oba. We are not reacting because anyone that insults the Oba actually insults the ancient throne. Anyone that insults the Oba actually insulted the constituted authority of the Benin people. Because the Oba becomes the representative, the carrier of this ancient identity, which has become very valuable, not to only Nigerians, even people around the world. I want to say something again, guys. When these artifacts were stolen, not looted, they were stolen by the British. They actually stole a lot of artifacts also around the world. They stole some in Ghana. They stole some in Yoruba land. They stole some in the north. But none of these artifacts stolen from other parts of the world has so much significance, has so much prowess, has so much, recognition as that of the Benin kingdom. That tells you how important the ancient Benin stool is. So when people come on board and they decide to come and run their mouth on an institution that has lived longer than many ethnic groups in Nigeria, we can just fold our hands, keep quiet, without not coming out to make history clear. Yes, civilization has taken away many things that we are not supposed to have lost. Other religions like Christianity, Islamism that came in to Africa as actually trying to abolish their culture. Take note, the difference between tradition and culture and barbarism of the past. I am a pastor, but I believe in my culture, and I'm a very traditional person to the core. But that does not mean I still agree to the ancient barbaric ways of doing things. Let me take you back a little bit to the British Kingdom. What you call white wedding is the British traditional way of doing things. Go check them. When they are marrying, go check them. When there are a lot of things that they do, which is their tradition, that they impose in many of the countries that they have gone to colonize them. Many of those countries who refuses to accept the British way of living are the few countries today in the world that is still operating in their old way of tradition, like the Pakistans, like the Indians. So we, the Benin people, have so much respect, have so much regard for the stool of the Oba of Benin, and we guard it with all jealousy. Oba does not make a mistake. That is what the Benins believes in. Like I said in one of the videos I did in response to Imajoki, was as far as the tradition and the culture of the Benin is concerned, the word of the Oba is final. Do you also know why? Let me also tell you a little bit of this before I draw the curtain. Do you also know why or how the traditional institution in Nigeria was not put under the local government administration? It wasn't done by the Nigerians. It was done by the British. All they wanted to do is to make sure that no kingdom on earth will be able to compare, or rub shoulder with the British monarchy system of government. That was it. They were operating a monarchical system of government, but they came to Nigeria, they came to Benin Kingdom in particular, they demolished the already existing monarchical system of government that was even more superior to theirs. Go check history. The Benin kingship is older than the British kingship. Go check history, guys. I'm not asking you to believe me word to word. Just go there and put it on encyclopedia. It's older. The Benin kingdom is the oldest existing kingdom in the world today. They saw, okay, what are we going to do to limit the power of this great God King, as they are being called by the Benin people? They took them and put them under the local government administration, so that they will have not so much power. They took away all their powers and make them advisory bodies. Okay, guys? So, these were the plans of these people called the British people. And that now gave rise to some people today who now decides to just wake up and begin to throw, unpleasant remarks to the palace and to the person of the Oba Benin. I'm not going to blame them so much. I'm going to blame some of the Ubine Igodomigodo children. One in Germany, because I don't like mentioning his name, because he is insignificant. Who started that? The one in France started this whole brouhaha about the insult because they wanted to make money. They were being paid to say a lot of things that was not ought to have been said against the Benin throne and the Benin kingdom. If you listen to that guy in Germany, he had not been able to put the dots together between the Ogiamien, administrative reign, the Ogisot dynasty, and the Upper Benin. So rather than for him, he had not been able to put a dot. I've listened to him many times, and I started wondering where. No, because there is already. Don't forget, during this time, guys, during this era of the Ogisot dynasty, the Ogiame administration, and the Oba dynasty that came in, then every nationality was a kingdom of their own, was a nation of their own. So there would have been no way the Benin people would just wake up, not even knowing. Do you know then? Nobody knows that other people exist apart from them. Nobody knew. In this time, in the 14th century, in 11th centuries, nobody knew that any other community existed apart from them. So, the going of the Uzamanians into the west in search of the lost son, the Caladera or Izodua, who later corrupted to be Oduduwa, should have been able to explain that there was something that actually tied the Ogisot dynasty to the Oba dynasty. Having known a story that had been said over the years of Esau, Ogiso Owodo, and the chiefs that were sent on an errand. But people who just want to destroy the ancient kingdom of Benin will do everything to listen, to believe every crap, every cock and bull story. Every cock and bull story of what they read on Google. Whatever you see on Google today is being put into Google by Google. My great-grandfather died at the age of 120 years. My grandfather. He told us histories. He told us stories that he had. So these stories are stories that were there even before Oba Erediawa of blessed memory was even born. My grandfather was far older than Oba Erediawa by age. So when somebody said Obajewa actually planted, according to this boy, planted the Caladeran story in order for them to tie the dots together between Omononya, which was corrected to be Oromiya, and the Oba dynasty. But have you ever actually sat down that how did some of these stories that were being told to us by our ancestors, even before Oba Erediawa was even ascended onto the throne? Do not forget, Oba Akinwumi II also narrated a story during the time when they were fighting for the emancipation of the Midwestern region from the Western region. How do you also believe, how do you know that the entire day the Edo Delta decided to follow Oba Akinzua into actualizing the Middle, because they knew by history they were tied together. Okay, guys? So now when people begin to talk, some of us who have actually begun to study our, history, who have begun to do things, to do a lot of stress on who we are, will tell you we are just a peculiar set of people. We are some kind of people that is so peculiar, is so special in the realm of things. Listen, guys, let me tell you something again. Anywhere the Benin people, whoever the Benin man decide to support, whoever the Benin kingdom decide to support, is always on the verge of winning. Go check history. I'm not asking you to believe me by my words. Go read history. It's there, black and white. When Obakesa II decided to put up a fight against the people, then the Western region, they won. Do you also know that the 1967 through 1970 war, it's called the Civil War, was actually won and lost in Benin soil? Go check history. I'm not asking you to believe me on this. I'm just telling you, go check history. The non-recognition of the Benin kingdom by one group led to the defeat. It's as simple as ABC, guys. We are ancient people. We are a little bit just different from the ordinary set of human beings. Believe it or not. We are created for a purpose. Until the Benin people realizes who they are. It's just like the children of Israel. Until you know who you are, until you realize your potential, until you realize what God has destined for you, you will continually living and allowing people who cannot or who will not even to the position of speaking to us, they began to say. I want to also say here, I'm not trying to disrespect any tribe or any tribe at all. Go check the 14th, 15th century during the time of this same Oba Iwari the First. In the 15th centuries. Go check history. How our brothers, Esa Bedo, Edo Besan. Go and check how they came into existence. The kingship of the Asian people, go check it. Don't believe my word for it? Go check it. Go also check that during the time of the war in Benin, the Asian people were always coming to support the throne of the Benins when there is a war between the Benin people and other nationalities around us. Go check history. One of the greatest what's it called? Abbalists. Then of the Oba of Benin was an Asian man. Go check history, guys. So when people who do not actually understand the history of a people decided to not tell the history of a man whom you don't know about, becomes very worrisome and troublesome to people like me who have little knowledge about my background as a people. People might think we have lost our identity, but some of us, this young lad in my group, my generation, is trying to rebrand, to regroup, and to revitalize the lost identity of a Benin man. Thanks to my brother, my friend, Izodua Imasone, who is going around town, going around nations, going around states, trying to put the dots together and bring all the the Benin people into one fold, just like it happened in the land of Israel. There were 12 tribes of Israel, 12 tribes. Today we only have the Jews, the tribes of Judah, who is there. The other 11, they are still missing. The same way there are many tribes of the Benin kingdom. There are many tribes of the Benin kingdom that went into exile as a result of one issue or the other. We all know how the Shekiri kingdom came into existence. Like I said, I'm not trying to bring anyone down, but even the Shekiris themselves knows. Check all the Shekiris titles. Is the same with that of the Oba of Benin. Before the government decided to make Ishekiri a kingdom, Ishekiri was actually a dukedom. Thanks to Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Before the coming in of these same people during the West, the Oba of Benin was the God King. Was actually the God King. But when Chief Obafemi Awolowo came, in order to also rewrite history, made the Oni of Ife, who was not a descendant of Oduduwa by birth, was actually a son of a slave woman that was supposed to be killed, which Oduduwa refused them to kill, and a son was given birth to, who was now the custodian of the deity that was worshipped by Oduduwa. Like you all know, Oyo and every other tribe, every other part of the West today, their kingdom, they actually started by the children, the 6 children or the 7 children of Oduduwa. So when Oduduwa, there was no one to take over that very particular ancient deity. This guy was not the custodian. Then when Obafemi Awolowo came during immediately after he now upgraded the Oni of Ife to be a first-class king as the Oba of Benin. These were some of the reasons why there was a friction between the West and the Benin Palace under Oba Kenzwa. Do not forget, guys, the first African nation to have an embassy outside Nigeria was the Benin in Portugal. Sorry. We had an embassy in Portugal in the 14th, 15th century. The first educated king in the whole of Nigeria was the Benin king. I'm not asking you to believe me. Please do your research. Until those that wrote this very unpleasant history about the Benin decide to do a rewriting to actually tell the people the true nature of who the Benins are. Maybe the nation, particularly the southern part of Nigeria, will not have peace. Until you give a man his due regard and respect as who he is, so they can be able to pilot the affair for a victorious, conquest in the near future. We'll continue to fight and move around. Go check history. Every war that the Benin fought, they won the war. The only people that fought vigorously, that the Fulani jihadists of Usman Dafodo ran from, was the Benin Empire. Go check history. They had them in the north of Edo State today. They ran because they were great warriors. And a Edo man, well, if you are an Edo man, you are a Benin man by call, there is something in you that needs to be reawakened. There's something that need to be reawakened. You are great people. You have strength. You do what others could not do. The bronze that was made in over 1,000 years ago is still generating controversy today in the entire world. What you did when there was no education from the West. There was no photograph. How they managed to capture all these old ideas. Is still baffling us today. Even the world is still shocked at how the Benin people were able to design those bronze. The Idia mask, the Esige head, and many other significant artwork that was done by our brothers in the Igbo community. They are still wondering till today. No technology to keep this thing afresh in their minds. But yet, they were intellectually mobile. Their visual tendency was so fantastic that they will picture the mind and the face of the people in their mind, and they will draw the same thing through their artwork. That was how tough, that was how intelligent a Benema was. And you also know, go check history, guys. The only people that was not sold into slavery in Nigeria today are the Benin people. Go check history. I'm not asking you to believe me, I'm just telling you to go. The only nationality, the only kingdom that their people were not sold into slavery was the Benin. But the Benin king sold many other people, but nobody dare sell a Benin man to slavery. It was a taboo. I'm not asking you to believe. Go check history, guys. So you will see the reason why we see the Oba, because all this I've just said now, where all this power I've just said today was the handiwork of the great ancient throne of the Benin Kingdom. So we cannot just sit down and just watch people coming to rubbish what has taken us over a millennium to put together. No politics, no political affiliation, nothing can actually make me to turn my back on the palace of the Oba of Benin. That is the truth. Nothing but the truth. My religion will not make me to see the Oba as a nobody, because the British monarchy who brought Christianity to us sees the throne of their kingdom as sacrilege and very, very important to them. Even the Israel people, who was the originator of what we call Christianity today, still respect the tomb of David, Solomon, and every other king that died over 2-3 millennia ago. They are still being respected today. The Jewish people are fighting to protect what is left of David's tomb. They are killing just to keep the tomb. That's to tell you how important the throne is to these people who actually gave us what we practice today, whether Islam or Christianity. Like you all know, they are from one and same family. So guys, so you will see why people like us, who are pastors, decide to stand in the back of our culture. Very important. I can't trade my culture for anything, because my culture has nothing to do with my religion and my belief. Rather, my culture will help me to actually sell my belief and my religion to other members of my family and constituency, because I'm not going to take them away from their culture, but I will only give them a religion that is more workable than what our great-grandfather practiced in their time. Okay, guys? So if you decide to sell your culture, put it into dustbin because of your religion, now there is no religion without no culture. Hello, guys. There is no religion without no culture. So every religion has a cultural coloration in them. A religion is a definition of a culture to a deity. Okay? A religion is a definition of a culture tied to a deity. Now, the deity here, when I mean deity, I'm talking about a supernatural beings. Okay? Now, we have the Muslim word, the Allah. If you check the background of the Islamism, is actually the Arab religion. Arab culture. That's the truth of the matter there. If you check carefully, the background of Islam is the Arab culture, fusing into what we call Ishmaelite belief. Now, if you go into Christianity, check very carefully the Bible. Apart from the word of God that is in the Bible, but the culture that we have in the Bible is the Israeli culture and tradition. Okay, guys? So every religion has a cultural background. So that was why when the British people were coming to Africa, they came into Africa with Jesus Christ wrapped in the British culture. They didn't give us Christianity in the Israeli culture. They gave us Christianity in the British culture. You get that, guys? That's it, boy, guys. Now, I need to go right now. I need to call it a day. I've just done some good analysis for today. I believe, please share this video. Let this video go viral. Let people who have not actually understood why we so much respect the palace of the great Benin Kingdom, they're going to see the reason why we do respect them. Thank you, guys. Like I said, anytime there is network availability, like now, I'm somewhere out of home. Like you can see, it's echoing. And I'm somewhere out of home. That's why I just quickly have to jump into the scene, do this video right now, and later in the day, if the network will permit, we'll do more. A great thanks to you all. We appreciate you all very much for showing up here today. Until we see again, this is me, Humanist TV, on the show. The guy that says it how it is and not being afraid of what people are going to say. Because I'm one hell of a guy that is ready at every point in time to engage anyone in a debate, an interview, as far as the Benin Kingdom is concerned. I am ever ready to challenge anyone that thinks what I've just said is not the truth. Okay, guys? Thank you, guys. I sign out now. Bye for now.